Major safety concerns emerge at Wasaya Airways. A morning townhouse fire sends one person to hospital. And Russian troops move into the Crimean Peninsula. Good evening and thank you for being with us. Wasaya Airways has been red flagged by Transport Canada in a safety assessment report that's just now coming to light. That report was conducted last March and indicates that Wasaya's safety management plan, training and quality assurance are not in conformance with the regulations. Wasaya Airways is based in Thunder Bay with subbases in Sioux Lookout, Pickle Lake and Red Lake. The 19-page report outlines several areas of concern, such as emergency plans not being updated, multiple de-icing failures, and a carry-on baggage control program not being adhered to. It also showed that no mock emergency exercises were completed as required in Wasaya's emergency response plan. The summary shows the airline was not in conformance in 4 of 6 categories, with issues also being found in the other 2. Wasaya CEO Tom Morris issued this statement earlier today.
This report was issued 1 year ago in March of 2013. Since then, we have been actively working with Transport Canada to continue our support and embrace a culture of safety within the workplace for all of our staff and travelers. We have done our due diligence within the last year to make continuous improvements to ensure safety is part of every aspect of our day-to-day operations and will continue to do so moving forward.
That safety report came to light following an investigation by APTN, the Aboriginal People's Television Network. 2 people were sent to hospital after a basement fire broke out at a John Street townhouse this morning. Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue responded to a 911 call and quickly subdued the flames. The call came in just before 8:30. Adjacent residents were evacuated, and fire officials say the fire did not spread to the units on either side. According to one neighbor, an adult and a teenager were taken to hospital for treatment of smoke inhalation and are now reported to be in good condition. The cause of the fire remains unknown.
Around a 24 count, 25 count, we had 4 pumpers and an aerial ladder unit show up to the scene. Ladder unit wasn't deployed, it wasn't necessary. I believe there's a little bit of smoke migration into one of the units, but very minor. The crews have informed me there's been no fire extension to either side. It's been contained to the original unit.
In total, 5 people were evacuated from the home. The fire is believed to have started in the basement and reportedly caused extensive damage. A snowmobiling mishap has claimed the life of a 43-year-old Ear Falls man. The incident happened last evening as a group of 3 snowmobilers were traveling on a hydro corridor near the community. Police say one of the operators came into collision with a guide wire. Emergency medical personnel declared the man dead at the scene. And a mill worker from Fort Frances is in critical condition in a Toronto hospital following an explosion yesterday at the Resolute Mill. A company spokesperson confirmed today that the man suffered burn injuries after the explosion and fire in the biomass boiler. An investigator with the Ministry of Labour is now on site. The Resolute official calls it an unfortunate situation and says they're working with the ministry to get to the root cause of the accident. The mill had stopped producing pulp and paper indefinitely on January 31st, but the biomass boiler continues to operate. The Mayor of Greenstone is praising Union Gas, volunteers and citizens after Long Lackan area went under a state of emergency yesterday. About 1,800 people were left without heat and temporarily evacuated Thursday after a natural gas line experienced problems. At one time, more than 850 homes were without natural gas. Now, only 2 or 3 homes are still waiting to be reconnected. Mayor Ron Beaulieu says it's been pretty amazing to see how people have come together during the emergency. He feels it could have been very serious given the temperatures dropped to minus 48 degrees with the wind chill last night. Union Gas brought in technicians from across the province to help get people reconnected. The cause of the situation is still under investigation. Well, after a record year for the grain harvest throughout the Canadian prairies, a frustrated Saskatchewan premier is speaking out about problems moving that grain east and west through Canadian ports. Brad Wall says there was a record crop to move to market, but a massive amount of that grain is still just sitting idle in storage. There was about 90 million tons of grain harvested this year. That compares with a normal crop of about 52 million. Manitoba has over 1.2 million tons of grain in storage itself at the moment. That's more than Thunder Bay's total storage capacity. Right now, Thunder Bay only has about 200,000 tons of it. Premier Wall says it is time to start thinking about moving grain south through the U.S. instead of through Canadian ports. And CEO of the Thunder Bay port, Tim Heaney, agrees changes are needed.
The size of the grain crop. And there are those that say it'll take till next harvest, if you're lucky, to move this year's harvest. So if you don't get it moved, then you have another harvest on top of this, especially if it's anywhere near this size. It's not a one-year problem. It turns into a multi-year problem. So there's going to have to be some changes made in the supply chain.
CN Rail says it's doing the best it can, but they're being forced to use shorter trains to successfully brake in this cold weather, and that's a factor in Canada's inability to move the massive amount of grain to port. A bust at a Chippewa Road trailer park this week has turned up a large quantity of drugs. Thunder Bay police say they executed a search warrant at the residence on Tuesday, and that led to the seizure of marijuana, cocaine, and ecstasy tablets valued at over $60,000. A 26-year-old man and a 29-year-old woman have been charged with possession for the purposes of trafficking. Kenora OPP are struggling to deal with an odor problem emanating from their narcotics storage area. Inspector Dave Lucas says they've confiscated about 300 pounds of marijuana and 18 pounds of cocaine in the past 3 years. Much of that is sitting in their detachment office waiting for court cases to wrap up. And now visitors and staff are complaining about the smell. Lucas admits it is a health hazard, and the OPP is looking to find a suitable off-site storage area as soon as possible. Hospitals across the province are facing budget crunches, including Thunder Bay Regional. As we reported yesterday, the regional currently has a deficit of more than $2 million. So an energy retrofit check presented today was tremendously important to the institution. Dennis Ward reports.
There is little doubt the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre gets a huge hydro bill in the mail. So over the past year, about $3 million has been invested to significantly cut energy costs. On Friday, part of that investment came back to the hospital in the form of a $600,000 rebate check, an incentive for taking part in the Ontario Energy Retrofit program.
Very excited to get this money to support the capital infrastructure, and then the resultant saving of the energy is certainly going to help us reduce our annual operating costs. So very exciting to be able to help provide a better environment for the patients and as well as reduce operating costs for the hospital.
The upgrades will cut the regional hospital's energy consumption by 22% a year. That's enough to power as many as 550 homes in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay Hydro has delivered more than 250 of these checks since the retrofit program was announced, but none have been this big.
This is by far the largest project that we've been involved with one of our customers in Thunder Bay, and in fact it's in the top 5 largest incentives that have been awarded in the province of Ontario.
The president of Thunder Bay Hydro hopes the size of this check encourages other businesses and homeowners to do similar conservation projects. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
Superior North EMS and the Ontario Association of Paramedic Chiefs are moving ahead with a new community paramedic program. That comes after meetings this week with Health Minister Deb Matthews. Chief Norm Gale says he's seen cases where paramedics are responding to 911 calls that aren't appropriate uses of EMS services. Poverty, homelessness, psychosocial issues, and violence are some of the examples of cases that could be better handled through a community paramedic program. The proposal is expected to cost about $6 million across the province. Gale says he's optimistic that in coming months, that program will gain momentum. They'll spend the next 6 weeks drawing up a proposal for the funding.
Very pleased that the minister in the Ministry of Health has recognized the potential and the importance of community paramedic programs in the city of Thunder Bay. We will submit a proposal. This proposal will come from a task force that we're convening now that includes broader healthcare actors and entities. Together, we will build a proposal and seek up to $300,000 in funding for program design and development.
The local task force in charge of making the proposal will include Superior North EMS, the local health unit, Community Care Access Center, the LHIN, and other local health care providers. Lakehead University launched its Research and Innovation Week today. The event highlights some of the exceptional work being done by students and faculty. There were a few interactive booths on display, and about 20 different ones will also be on display at Intercity Shopping Centre tomorrow. A robot created by Lakehead student AJ Savanusu is something like a mini prototype for a Google driverless car. It uses an Xbox connected to a depth sensor to see obstacles and then to avoid them.
It's programmed to navigate through voice. And also, its real purpose is to actually navigate and follow a target without any commands. So the pylon that we have here, it's supposed to follow in and avoid any obstacles and plan a path and just follow it in a sense.
Our objective in Research and Innovation Week is to demonstrate to public and share with public what is going on at the university and what type of research we are doing.
Lakehead University has been named Ontario's #1 university and the second in Canada in the undergraduate research category. The booths that we mentioned earlier will be hosted by several of Lakehead University's faculties and departments, including social sciences and humanities, as well as the civil and electrical engineering departments. Well, there was no fun in the snow once again at Thunder Bay Elementary Schools today. The bitter winter has forced schools to have indoor recess when temperatures get too low. This winter has already set a record high for indoor recesses at Ecole Grand Morgan, and it's forced teachers and other staff to prepare indoor activities to help keep the kids busy. Rochelle El-Soufi has more.
The playground remains empty and silent during recess time at Ecole Grand Morgan School. The school has been forced to hold recesses indoors during these frigid cold days because of safety concerns. Principal Pauline Fontaine says they've had approximately 34 days since December that the students have been forced to stay indoors for recess.
We have a policy that says that students cannot go outside unless it's minus 25 or more. And so they are to remain inside, and that's including windshield.
Although they can't be physically active outdoors, the teachers have planned out ways the students can burn off their energy while indoors.
We try to also emulate that in the classrooms and in the school generally when they're not able to go outside, so that they keep their minds active and that they are stimulated during the day to keep going during instructional time.
Teachers have activities in the classroom that they are able to set up for students. They have games, puzzles, those types of things. Some teachers will be taking students down into the gym and doing intramurals such as basketball, volleyball, floorball, which is a type of floor hockey. Also, we have students that have decided to start a Lego club at our school.
Even though the students here at this school have been spending a significant amount of time indoors for indoor recesses, some students say they actually prefer it that way and they don't miss outdoor recess at all.
If it's winter, then yes. I like indoor recess. It's too cold outside. I just stay inside.
Next week, temperatures are expected to be warm enough for students to play outside in the snow again during their recess breaks. Rochelle El-Soufi, TBT News.
With those kids, this cold, I don't want to go play outside either.
Yeah, same here. Those kids are smart. They must know that we have another wind chill warning just in time for the weekend. Yay.
I'm glad you're happy about it. I don't think anybody else is going to be. I keep hearing, I've had enough of this winter. I've had enough of this snow. Well, you may definitely feel that way after this weekend. We had some light snow this afternoon, and temperatures actually went up to minus 16, which is what we're at pretty close to right now. Although with the wind chill feels like minus 24, and that's with winds out of the south-southeast. Across the region, the snow has still continued to linger up toward Red Lake, but temperatures, everyone seems to be pretty close to their daytime high. With the exception of Big Trout Lake, if that's their daytime high, I feel very sorry for them. It's quite possible, though, that it is. Still more snow continuing to the east. Greenstone currently at minus 18, minus 15 in Marathon. Sault Ste. Marie, snow and blowing snow, so a bit of a mess to the east. Now, let's talk about these wind chill warnings. This entire red area could be seeing wind chill values anywhere from minus 40 to minus 50 as you get further higher up. These regions well to the north are looking at potential minus 50 overnight wind chill values. A little closer to Thunder Bay, we're in the minus 40 to minus 45 range, which, is so much better apparently. Tonight we're going to drop down to a low of minus 25. The wind chill will feel like minus 38. Now I just told you there is a warning. So this is why we have to worry. By early morning, this is when we drop into that zone of very frigid temperature and wind chills for Thunder Bay that could be hovering between minus 40 and minus 45. The rest of the region in that same boat, very, very cold. And there is a positive side to all this cold air. Because it is coming down from the north, it's keeping the snow to the south away from us. So I guess the upside is without the cold air, we could be shoveling some more, trying to find more places to put all that snow. So it's always a positive side to look at it.
It's usually one or the other around here. We're probably going to get more snow anyway, so I guess we better get used to that as well, right?
That seems to be the case this winter. I'll have more details on whether or not you're going to see some snow after we get rid of this cold. That's later on. We'll keep you waiting.
Thanks very much, Fiona. Well, several new developments today as the crisis in Ukraine continues. We'll have a complete update right after these words.
It's a provocation against Ukraine by Russian special forces.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird was in Ukraine today announcing aid for those hurt in that country's recent political turmoil. It comes as Ukraine's former president resurfaced today in Russia, the very country whose influence is believed to have sparked the recent protests. Susan Ormiston has the latest.
Who is behind the mask? Troops took control of the airport in the Crimean capital. Many believe these are Russian boots on Ukrainian ground. Kiev calls that an armed insurrection. We tried to get answers.
Can you tell me who you are?
No comment, no.
No comment.
Are you Russian troops? Nothing. Most flights weren't disrupted, travelers not alarmed.
Нет.
No, they don't bother you. Nope, everything's super, he says.
Отлично, супер.
But this was just one action in a widespread movement of troops and ships. Military who weren't Ukrainian took over another airport. Russian choppers flew into Ukrainian airspace, and a Russian warship blocked Ukrainian border ships in Sebastopol, where Russia has a large base. Each day now, here in Crimea, Russia, or those sympathetic to Russia, are making a stand at the airport, at the port, at the parliament, sending a message to Kiev that it won't stand by and let the government proceed peacefully. Kiev convened an emergency meeting and called on the UN Security Council.
It's a provocation against Ukraine by Russian special forces. It's a total violation of the laws governing the presence of foreign forces on Ukrainian territory.
Then it was Yanukovych hour. Deposed president wanted in Ukraine, hosting a news conference from Russia. He said the Kiev government is illegal, blamed America and the EU for the crisis. He said Putin should act and he'd be back as soon as his security could be guaranteed. His performance was unpopular with many, even in Crimea. Musicians pulled out an accordion before Yanukovych was halfway through. He's not good enough to lead the country. It's his fault it's in a mess. By day's end, some troops at one airport went back to where they came from without incident, but delivering a silent, foreboding threat. Susan Ormston, CBC News, Simferopol, Crimea.
2 suspects accused of killing a university student appeared in court in Halifax today. Victoria Henneberry and Blake Leggett are both facing charges of first-degree murder. They've been ordered to remain in jail until their next court appearance on March 19th. The body of Loretta Sanders was recovered Wednesday next to a highway in New Brunswick 2 weeks after she had vanished. Police believe Saunders was killed in the apartment that she had sublet to Henneberry and Leggett. Saunders was last seen going to collect rent from the couple. Well, this spring, it's going to cost a little bit more money to buy a home if you're putting less than 20% down. CMHC is increasing premiums on the mortgage default insurance. The increase adds just a few dollars per month to the average mortgage, but it may be a sign of things to come. Ron Charles reports.
It's going to be a busy one today, I think.
Anyone purchasing a home with less than a 20% down payment has to get mortgage default insurance. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation is the largest insurer with 3/4 of the market. Today, the Crown Corporation announced an average 15% increase in the premiums it charges. A typical $250,000 mortgage with a 5% down payment currently costs $6,875 to insure. As of May 1st, it will cost $7,875 to insure, an increase of $1,000, or about $5 a month in additional mortgage payments, since most buyers simply fold the insurance premium into their mortgage. The CEO of one big mortgage lender says this is not an attempt to slow down an overheated housing market.
I would argue this is all about the spreading of risk, protecting any losses at the CMHC level from the taxpayer. I don't think this is going to have any meaningful impact on slowing down the housing market.
The CMHC says the increase is to deal with new requirements that it hold more cash to deal with potential defaults. And so today's premium hike may not be the last.
I do think this is a fairly major change in policy at the federal government level. Certainly I've had the view over a number of years that CMHC is a little tight for capital, and this is a way of bolstering their capital base and making sure that the taxpayers are protected.
There are 2 private mortgage insurance companies, but their premiums typically match those of the CMHC. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
The RRSP scramble is on, the annual last-minute rush of taxpayers looking to contribute to their plans. Now, most people know how that works, but what's surprising is how few understand the other way to avoid taxes legally. Diane Buckner has that story.
Even while he's at work, Madhav Mehta is seeing reminders to contribute to his RRSP.
Radio, TV, Facebook, online social media, you name it, they're all out there. You can't miss it right now, unless you have your eyes closed.
But Madhav is a fan of another strategy, the tax-free savings account, or TFSA.
I know that there are several options, the TFSA being one of them, but that doesn't get any love, as the RSP does.
For decades, banks and investment firms have pushed the RSPs. TFSAs just launched 2009 and aren't as well understood. Do you know the difference between a RSP and a TFSA?
Neil, this one is yours.
No. I've got no idea, to tell you the truth.
One big difference, with an RSP you get a tax break up front and you leave the money in it till you retire. With a TFSA, there's no tax break when you deposit, but as your savings make money, there's zero tax on that income. Plus, you can withdraw money from a TFSA at any time with no penalty. So some savers use them to pay for a new car or house. Of course, the accounts are also useful for retirement savings.
For younger people or people in low tax brackets, sometimes I think the TFSA is actually a better solution than the RSP.
This banker recommends automatic contributions straight from every paycheck.
I think TFSAs are still in their early stages, even though we're in year number 6 of the TFSA. RSPs have been around for a lot longer, and there is that sort of deadline.
Speaking of deadlines, this year it's not the last day of February.
I know I have till March 3rd. The advertisements make that very clear, so I'll be sure to get in my contribution before then.
Advisors will tell you last minute is better than not at all. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal government has reached a deal with nearly all of the provinces on its controversial job grant program. Employment Minister Jason Kenney made it official today at a Conservative political conference in Ottawa.
I'm pleased to announce that we have arrived at an agreement in principle with 12 provincial governments and territories on their delivery of the Canada Job Grant.
Quebec is the only holdout. That deal comes after months of negotiations on the contentious plan. Terms of the agreement have not been made public. Well, after months of campaigning, parties, and speeches, it's finally arrived. No, not another election, rather something much more important, at least to some people, if you're in Hollywood, the Oscars. Sunday night, the chosen few will walk away with a statue, but who has the golden touch? With some tips on how to win your Oscar pool, here's expert Eli Glasner.
And the Oscar goes to...
The winner is...
And the Oscar goes
And the winner is...
When it comes to winning your Oscar pool, the key is not to vote with your heart, but your brain. This isn't about your favorite or what's best, but rather what's going to win over those 6,028 members of the Academy. Members who are 77% male, 94% white, and only 14% under the age of 50. So what kind of performance impresses older white men?
Welcome to the Dallas Buyers Club.
Let's look at the frontrunners in this year's race. For Best Actor and Supporting Actor, Dallas Buyers Club Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto seem like a sure thing. Best Actress bet on Blue Jasmine's Cate Blanchett. Best Supporting Actress, Lupita Nyong'o from 12 Years a Slave.
I ain't got no comfort in this life.
What ties these together is just how physical and extreme they are. Subtle performances don't win Oscars. Dramatic transformations do. McConaughey and Leto nearly starved themselves into skeletons to play AIDS patients. Cate Blanchett's slurring, self-centered Wall Street socialite is a tour de force. And for pure pain and anguish, the award goes to Lupita Nyong'o as the slave Patsy.
500 pounds of cotton, day in, day out.
And how about Best Picture? Voters may be mainly white, but this has been an amazing year for African American stories. None more powerful and potent than 12 Years a Slave. But when it comes to Best Director, voters reward films that lift spirits and box office. Last year, it was Life of Pi. This year, look to Gravity to give director Alfonso Cuarón a boost.
With over $700 million at the box office, Gravity is a movie that pushed the boundaries of filmmaking and gave audiences a reason to go to the movies again. Another tip to help you Oscar voters at home: have a golden night. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, a relatively quiet day on the North American markets. Toronto saw the TSX slip 5 points to 14,209. Dow up 49 to 16,321. NASDAQ dropped 10 points to 43.08. Dollar closed up half a cent at 90.3 cents U.S. Gold was down $10 to $1,321 an ounce. And oil up slightly closing in the $102 a barrel range. Lincoln University Thunder Wolves fans hoping for a win tonight that'll wrap up their series against Ryerson. They're also in not only for a good game, but a special treat as well.
Yeah, I think the boys will be pumped because Thunder-based Haley Irwin, the two-time gold medalist, just added to her collection. She'll be dropping the puck, ceremonial drop of the puck.
Hopefully she'll bring the medals too.
Well, I'm sure she will.
For sure. Well, your Lakehead University Thunder Wolves will shoot for the sweep tonight at the Gardens when they host Ryerson. They crushed the Rams 7-0 in the best-of-3 OUA West opener Wednesday night. Off to the NHL now for a busy 12-game slate last night. Leafs on the island. Toronto gets off to a quick start. Tyler Bozak drops it to Phil Kessel. He'll rip his team-leading 32nd behind Evgeny Nabokov to make it 1-0. But Michael Grabner counters with a pair of short-handed goals. Thank you very much, Jonathan Bernier. They came only 48 seconds apart. 2-1 New York after 29 minutes into the third. James Van Riemsdyk cuts in, hits the post. Paul Ranger swipes it behind Nabokov. We're tied at 2. Now tied at 4. The Islanders pull it out in overtime. Van Riemsdyk can't clear it. Lubomir Wisnowski hammers it home. New York takes it 5-4. Next up, in Winnipeg, Ole Jokinen with the go-ahead goal in the shootout as the Jets edge the Phoenix Coyotes 3-2. And in Edmonton, Nail Yakupov, he'll be gone for a while. He took a shot off the foot. They also ended up losing the game 3-0 against Minnesota. Jonathan Quick stopped all 25 shots he faced. Flames fall 2-0 to the Kings. David Desharnais scores the only goal of the shootout, giving Montreal a wild 6-5 shootout win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Johan Franzen had a hat trick as the Wings soared over the Senators 6-1. Also of note, the Rangers over the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1. You're welcome, Barry. 4 games in the NHL tonight, including Minnesota at Vancouver. We'll check out the Sabres and Sharks on the late edition. The Thunder Bay North Stars are in Spooner, Wisconsin tonight to battle the last place Wilderness in the SIJHL. And Canada's Paralympic team has left for Sochi, Russia. Our men's sledge hockey team will try and make it an Olympic gold hat trick in mid-March.
There's not as much fanfare with this team. No crowds at the airport, no screaming fans, just a few kids grabbing autographs from some unsung hockey heroes.
Maybe one day, it'll get bigger and bigger, and I think we're showing progress every single year, ever since Vancouver.
In true Canadian fashion, these elite athletes have lofty goals. Make it a hat trick and confirm Canada's hockey supremacy. Bring home a gold medal from Sochi.
It's hockey, it's Canada, we want gold. We expect to win just like every other tournament.
Greg Westlake has headed up the team for the past 4 seasons. He was part of the crew that won gold in Italy and was on the team that fell short of bronze at home in Vancouver. Greg himself is a double amputee and came to be a sledge hockey player reluctantly.
I viewed it as, just a disabled sport, and it took me actually going out and trying it to change my perception. And it's the same for other people, if you build it, they will come.
All of these teammates have interesting stories. Most of the players have full-time jobs in addition to training off and on the ice daily. They don't make millions of dollars a year, just play for the love of it.
I would drop everything and do this full time, but unfortunately that's not the case. We do have to have jobs back home.
It's a bit of a struggle to balance that all the time, but so that might make the win a bit more rewarding for us.
Part of the goal for this trip, in addition to bringing home a medal, is to garner more support for their sport. The motto for these Paralympic events, it's not what's missing, it's what's there. This team says it definitely isn't missing anything.
Regardless of your ability or disability, there are options out there for everybody, and just work hard and dreams can come true.
Win or lose, we've had the chance to impact a lot of people's lives, and that's something that story needs to get told more than it does.
The gold medal game goes Saturday, March 15th. The team asks that you don't miss that either. Laura Zilke, Global News.
4th-year Lake University guard Dwayne Harvey has been named the OUA West Defensive Player of the Year. Former Thunderwolf Greg Carter had won that award the last 4 years. NBA last night, a marathon game between the Wizards and Raptors in Toronto will pick it up late in double overtime. Washington up by 2, but DeMar DeRozan sends it to triple OT with 2 of his game-high 34 points. But the Raptors hit the wall, specifically a guy named John Wall, who ends up driving to the basket here for the bucket. He ended up with 31 points. Wizards pulled out 134-129. It's the longest game in Raptors history. Thunder Bay will host the OFSA Varsity Girls Volleyball Championships starting Monday at the Fieldhouse, St. Ignatius and Superior. There are 20 teams taking part, including the Falcons, St. Pat's, and Dryden. And they call him the mayor of Hinchtown. There's no question Toronto's James Hinchcliffe is making a name for himself on the IndyCar circuit and off the track. Rob Lath has more.
If you're not a citizen of Hinchtown yet, you may want to think about relocating. It's only one of Canada's fastest growing communities.
Yeah, Hinchtown is it's grown at a pretty good rate. It's cool to see when you do well, people are paying attention, and I don't know, I think we have 100,000 citizens. We're growing. It's getting there.
James Hinchcliffe is the self-proclaimed mayor of Hinchtown, a fictional land for his fan base. And a successful mayor he is, winning his first IndyCar race at the season-opening event last March in St. Petersburg.
Mayor of Hinchtown is now an IndyCar Series winner!
Getting that first win at St. Pete was just amazing, and it took so much pressure, I think, off my driving, and it allowed me to be freer, I think, after that. And as a result, we were able to get 2 more wins in the season, which is huge.
Still, not quite making the headlines as much as the mayor of Toronto.
I am perfectly happy for Mayor Rob Ford to be in the spotlight more than me as mayor of Hinchtown. I can't really give him any advice because he's got a much more stressful job than I do.
Known for his charismatic personality, Hinchcliffe was a natural choice to co-host the morning show.
I tweeted during the Olympics how I thought to be a skeleton slider, you must have to be stark raving mad. No. I said that it was really hypocritical coming from someone who races at 400 kilometers an hour.
While he made it look easy, don't expect him to give up his day job anytime soon.
Definitely more stressful being behind the desk on TV. I'm at home in a race car. You know, for me, you know, being on television, especially live TV and that kind of, you know, setting is still pretty new. I mean, they're all professionals. I'm just the rookie amateur trying to not screw up and swear on television.
And a fine job he did.
Former NFL safety Darren Sharper has turned himself into LA police after being named in a warrant involving a rape case in New Orleans. He's also under investigation in sexual assault cases in Florida, Nevada, and Arizona. Grapefruit League ball today from Florida. The Jays jump out to a 1-0 lead in the first. Colby Rasmus knocks a single to right. The popular Munenori Kawasaki will jog in. Later in the first, New Jays catcher Dio Navarro will do some damage with the stick. He'll line a double down the first base line off Garrett Cole, and that delivers Rasmus. Pittsburgh ties it at 2 off Brandon Morrow in the fourth. Gabby Sanchez drops a double in front of Moises Sierra in right, and Pedro Alvarez lumbers in. But the Jays score the winning run in the fifth off Andy Oliver. It's Ryan Goins checking in as Rasmus grounds out to the pitcher. Toronto wins at 4-2. Too bad it wasn't the regular season. They're 3-0. Vancouver is getting ready to host the Heritage Classic Sunday afternoon against Ottawa. The ice has been put in at BC Place, and organizers are ready for the elements.
Refrigeration unit and refrigeration system, we have just as much capacity as we would have across the street, say at Rogers Arena. So as far as, you know, mild temperatures, that's no problem for us. We've played in almost anything you can imagine, right? So we've played in heavy snow, we've played in rain, we've played in some cold and warm now, right? So we can pretty much deal our side on with pretty much anything.
And it appears Rory McIlroy is back. He's got the clubhouse lead at the Honda Classic by 3.
Golf, we can only dream, right?
And baseball. At least we're seeing grass now.
Yeah, on TV.
Yeah.
That's fun. Thanks, Randy.
All right, well, if you head out to the Gardens this evening, you're going to see Haley Irwin, Thunder Bay's own. But tonight, we've got another Haley on our lineup with George Strombolopoulos. He's got Haley Wickenheiser. With more, here's a complete lineup on Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay at 8, it's Bones. And Brennan is a juror for a much-publicized murder trial. Then at 9 on Hawaii 5-0, a real estate agent is found dead inside the walls of one of his listings. And at 10 on Parenthood, Jasmine and Crosby temporarily move in with Zeke and Camille. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8, Marketplace puts your financial advisors to the test. At 8:30 p.m., Rick goes rock climbing in Alberta with Jan Arden on the Rick Mercer Report. At 9 on the Fifth Estate, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish community is facing allegations of child abuse. And at 11:35, George has women's hockey gold medalist Haley Wickenheiser. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, the cold weather, Fiona, continues to take. Note came into the newsroom late this afternoon from the city. It indicates that in the average year, city crews deal with about 20 cases of frozen pipes in an average winter. This year, the number is already up to 320 and counting. Crews are having to work 16 hours a day to deal with the problem. For you folks out there who do have frozen pipes, you have our sympathies. Please be patient. Those crews will get you as soon as they can, but it's a nasty situation all the way around.
It is very cold this winter, and you know, it really is no surprise that yesterday we did break a record for a low for that day. In fact, we not only broke it, we smashed it, obliterated it, and stomped it into the ground. Our old record was about minus 31. Yesterday we hit a low of minus 34.6. So there's a good reason why all of those pipes are bursting. Today we hit a high of minus 16 with wind chill, felt like minus 24 and some light snow. Winds are from south-southeast. If we take a look at what's going on across the country, Vancouver 7, few clouds, and then we drop off into this very cold zone. Now Calgary at minus 21 is under a wind chill warning. Edmonton is not. That's because their wind chills are going to be hitting about minus 39. Got to hit that magic number minus 40 if you head out west. So they're just missing it. But speaking of warnings, basically most of Saskatchewan and into Manitoba, as well as Ontario, is under a wind chill warning. Saskatoon and Regina both at minus 27, minus 26 with a fair amount of sunshine. Minus 52 is the wind chill value expected for tonight. Winnipeg with some light snow is not only under a wind chill warning, under a blowing snow warning. So not only will they see minus 52 tomorrow morning, it's going to be so cold, and they're also not going to be able to see anything because visibility is going to be very minimal. Toronto currently at minus 12. They're going to see a bit of a warm up tomorrow. Ottawa and into Montreal currently minus 15. They're expecting some snow tonight. Quebec City already seeing some light snow at minus 13. They're expecting about 5 to 10 centimeters tomorrow. And the Maritimes, well, they're going to see some seasonal temperatures, which means around at or slightly above the freezing mark, probably by Sunday. Right now, though, they're hovering at about minus 8 with fairly clear skies. St. John's, minus 7, some light snow. They're under a wind warning. Are going to see gusts up to 120 kilometers per hour tonight. So take a look at what happened today. Snow moved through and it's going to continue tonight. Tomorrow, we're under this clear patch, which, good news, bad news, it means cold air pushing in from the north, but that's also going to keep all of this precipitation away from us, so we're not going to be dealing with doing any massive shoveling over the next few days. But those wind chill warnings mean anywhere from minus 40 to minus 45 and further north to minus 50, so very cold night indeed. And fairly clear to the west. It's to the east where there's going to be some lingering snow, slightly warmer temperatures, but lingering snow for sure. And then tomorrow, the sun is going to come back. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of heat with it. That seems to be the case across the region. Temperatures mid-20s, mid to low 20s on the minus side. Currently, our friend is shivering at minus 16. Not too bad, actually, because the wind chill has been bumped up to about minus 19. The wind has just dropped in the last hour down to 4 kilometers per hour. But as we head into tonight, wind chills are going to be closer to minus 38 with a little bit more light snow. Start the day at minus 40 wind chill. That's going to improve to about minus 30. So those are the numbers you want to keep an eye on. With clear skies, it's going to be another cold night tomorrow night. Wind chill minus 40. And then on Sunday, minus 17 under mostly sunny skies and more frigid temperatures next week. We're looking at about minus 13 to start off your work week. That's your forecast.
Entertainment news, it was a sold-out show last time they took the stage, and it's coming back for another performance. Mamma Mia is returning to the Thunder Bay Community Auditorium in April. Brett Hawley has details in tonight's edition of Front Row Center.
Well, hello, this is Front Row Center. I'm Brent Hawley, letting you know what's happening in the community of Thunder Bay. It is back by popular demand. It was here not so long ago, but you know what? People love it. It's happening on April 29th and April 30th over at the Thunder Bay Community Auditorium. Of course, I'm talking about Mamma Mia. Now, if you haven't got your tickets for this show and you missed out last time, order them in advance. It's sold out both times. I'm guessing it's going to sell out again. Call the box office 684-4444 or order them online, tvca.com, or I guess you go down to the box office yourself and pick them up. Now, it's a story about a girl trying to figure out who her daddy is. Oh, yeah, it's set to the music of ABBA. It's a ton of fun. You don't want to miss out on it. And tomorrow night, over at the LU Outpost, it's the final country night of the year. You don't have to be a student to be in attendance for that.
Front Row Center is brought to you by Teleco. We hear you at Teleco, your TBT authorized dealer, 601 Central Avenue.
Okay, the push is on south of the border to deal with what's been described as, what is it? I guess an epidemic of obesity. And they're starting right at the top, at the White House. Details when we return. Well, the U.S. First Lady has a lot of influence in the White House, and when it comes to her latest effort to promote fitness, well, she leaned on what we'll call a few friends. Yeah, when they're not sweating out an international crisis, U.S. President Barack Obama and his VP Joe Biden raised their heart rates the old-fashioned way, with a quick jog around the White House. Secret Service in tow, no doubt. The president and the vice president claim they keep fit to avoid getting in trouble with their wives, which leads many to wonder who holds the real power in Washington. silly question. We know it's the wives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's recap our top story of the day. A disturbing report has surfaced from Transport Canada that shows Wasaya Airways has been flagged for a number of safety concerns, but Wasaya CEO Tom Morris says they've used the intervening years since that report was issued to address many of the problems that were earmarked.
And your Lake University Thunderwolves will try and eliminate, actually move on to the OUA West final against either Windsor or Western, but they've got to win tonight in order to accomplish that.
And a very cold night indeed, low of minus 24. Wind chills, though, closer to minus 40. So plug it in, bundle up, keep the pets indoors.
And
You know the
meanwhile,
drill.
have a great weekend. That'll do it for tonight's look at news, weather, and sports. Have a good evening.
Thank you.